All right, our last video is going to finish up our discussion on simple machines. We got two more to cover, and those include wheel and axle and pulleys. So let's jump right in with wheel and axle. Wheel and axle is really a simple machine. It's not too complicated to think about. It's just two circular or cylindrical objects fastened together that rotate around a common axis. So if you find the center of each of the cylinders or circles and connected them at the center, then you would basically get a wheel and axle. How this works is that a smaller input force is applied to the wheel part, and it's exerted over a larger distance, and therefore a larger output force is going to be applied to the axle, and it's going to cover a shorter distance. So this is going to increase your force so that you exert your force over a longer distance, and therefore it's going to increase the distance exerted or it's going to increase the force exerted by the axle on whatever it's exerting a force onto. You can think of this as your doorknob. I don't really have a good place for my head. I guess it could go there. As a doorknob, you twist the larger part, and the larger part turns the axle part, and it moves your little lock piece, I guess. I don't know. Over here, you can see a better example of what's going on. We have this larger wheel here versus this small axle. You'll see that they're both kind of connected at the center. And as I turn the wheel from the outside of the wheel, my hand is going over the large distance, and therefore I don't have to exert a lot of force to get my work. And over here, the distance is shorter, but therefore a larger amount of force I need. Your ideal mechanical advantage here is just the ratios of your radius. So the radius of the wheel divided by the radius of the axle. So to increase the ideal mechanical advantage, would I increase the radius of the wheel or the radius of the axle? Again, if I want this number to go up, then I want to increase my numerator. So if I increase the radius of the wheel, think about having a giant wheel to turn, making it a lot easier to turn little valves or something inside water pipes or whatever you're applying a force on, versus having a really, really small wheel to turn bigger things. You can think of it as a wheel in your car too. It's easier to drive if your wheel is larger than your drive shaft than if it's the same size as your drive shaft. Then it would be virtually impossible even to exert the amount of force needed to turn your car wheels. Our last simple machine is a pulley. A pulley is basically just a grooved wheel with a rope or cable wrapped around it. Pulleys are unique in our simple machines because they're really used to change direction. This is really the one machine that changes direction. So a lot of times, if it's just a single pulley and how you rig it up, it's going to not really give you much of a mechanical advantage at all, but it will be able to change your direction that you apply the force. And just due to other forces in nature, such as gravity, it's a lot easier to pull things down than it is to pull things up. So pulleys do make that a little easier because gravity can help with your input force. So how does it work? You're going to pull one end of the force on a rope. This is your input force, and the other end is going to pull a load or your output force. So pulleys can decrease input force, and pulleys can also change direction, and it depends on how many pulleys you have and how you set them up. So here are 3 examples of different setups for pulleys. I guess my head's in a good place. First, we have a fixed pulley, which is over here. You'll note I pulled down on this rope and our weight goes up, and it spins this wheel, changing the direction. Here I do not get a mechanical advantage because I'm just changing direction. We have movable pulleys where we have our rope attached to a fixed point and moves around here. This actually does give me some mechanical advantage. We'll talk about it in a minute. Or you can even have a whole block and tackle system set up where you have multiple pulleys and the same rope going through multiple of them, and that will also give me a mechanical advantage. So the mechanical advantage of a pulley is really not much math involved to figure it out. It's just a number of sections of rope that support the object or the load, and that's just going to be it right there. If you have one over here, if you have one section of rope that supports your object or your load, then you only have mechanical advantage of 1. You're not going to change anything. Over here, you have 2 ropes that are supporting your weight, so you are going to get a mechanical advantage of 2 there. So a fixed pulley is only going to be 1, but a movable pulley is going to be 2. Simple machines in the body, just some other facts to mention, is that your body is made up of simple machines. You can think of most of your joints and bones and tendons and ligaments and stuff like that are pretty much levers. Your bone is going to just kind of move across a joint which acts as a fulcrum. You can think of your incisors, those sharp teeth in front of your mouth here. Those are wedges, so they can cut things. And you have like different other things like fingernails, a wedge, and stuff like that. So your body is really made up of all these different simple machines as well. Compound machines are going to be what you normally probably see in your everyday life, like a car. That's a compound machine. Your chainsaw, your power tools, those are your compound machines. They consist of just a combination of simple machines. So your compound machine is going to utilize 2 or more of these simple machines, and your ideal mechanical advantage there is the ideal mechanical advantage of all the machines that make up the compound machine. So you're just going to add up all your IMAs, and you'll get the IMA of your compound machine. That's pretty simple forward too. So, hope you enjoyed that chapter on machines.